Hello and welcome. I'm Lloyd with McVey Marketing Solutions, founder, uh, owner, consultant. Um, and today's video, I kind of wanted to get into something that was near and dear to my heart, just from my experience, and something that I feel is very useful in the. Well, I feel it's useful in just about any arena, but especially in the digital marketing or business arena. Uh, for its application and all that. So before I get further into the video, if you uh, wouldn't mind hitting up a like, uh, or a comment, good or bad, just let me know what you think. If you'd like to see more of this, that kind of thing. Subscriptions would be awesome, not expected, but that would I'm trying to grow my audience as if you look at a lot of my experience, I've spent a good amount of time behind closed and secured doors, let's just say. Um, you can view my full profile if you choose to, but so anyway, help me out. So first I'm going to go into a little bit of an agenda. I like to do this just to keep things straight and let you know what's coming. So my agenda, just did the intro. I'm going to go to a wiki page. Then I'm going to do a deck. No worries. I hate death by PowerPoint. Anybody who's been in industry for a long time hates those meetings where you go to and somebody's just going to talk forever, read from a slide, and oh my goodness, it's just terrible. So I'll try to make that quick and brief and impart the knowledge that needs to be imparted, just because visual data is one of those things that's really it's really good for learning and objectives and all that kind of stuff. And that's one of the reasons I'm going to go into example use before I close. So, what we're going to talk about today is mostly competitive intelligence, using the OODA loop and how it was established and its civilian counterpart. This plan, do, check, act. I actually have to keep on looking at that one, as with my military experience, I'm much more familiar with the OODA loop. So, um, the OODA loop was actually developed by Colonel John Boyd, United States Air Force. And this is something that we were trained and drilled when I was in. So the concepts are really, really keyed specifically for the fighter pilot so that they can make split-second decisions in combat. How this applies to business is being agile, and all that allows you to maintain tempo or to gain a tempo on your competitor, opponent, even yourself, depending on how you're viewing things. So it's a very, very useful, simple, but powerful tool. So I'm going to go into the deck here and we'll start the presentation here. All right. Like I say, this is going to be quick, fast, dirty as much as possible, just so that we can get into the examples and use cases, but it's good knowledge to have. So, to present. I'm going to open up this pointer because I do have a habit of waving it around and all that kind of stuff, but mostly I'll just do some reading. So, again, OODA loop, you filter, analyze, predict, and you gain insight. I'm Lloyd. You know that. So, qualifications why I should listen to me. Like I said, I'm militarily trained. I held a clearance for 10 years. I'm a self-taught ethical hacker. I can read and understand and build and edit in 9 or 10 programming languages. I've honestly lost count at this point. I just continue learning stuff. I've done testing, automation, manual testing, data collection, analysis. I've been trained in lean manufacturing principles, root cause and failure analysis, process improvement, written and dispensed a good amount of training materials, but you will not find those, as they were organizational specific and classified. Research and development of missiles and radar technologies. I've been involved in a few projects. Uh, and calibrations are the same. Logistics, scheduling, movement of material, customer service, and I also have many certs in education. I do not have a college degree. I will tell you that point blank. I do not have a college degree. I have attended college classes for different things that I have been interested in, but I do not have a degree. I just have a lot of experience. So, moving on. That's my bona fides. Okay, what we're going to talk about helps you. Being aware and adaptability is nothing but an advantage in business. Proper application of these techniques will streamline all of your decision-making efforts. You'll develop a good mental muscle through its use, and the ability to give sound, time-sensitive info to prospective and existing clients, furthering their trust and dependence on you. As marketers, especially, and salespeople, this is very, very key and important to what we do. So I think it's very valuable. Objectives and understanding for this. We got the overall strategy. We're going to look at what a SWOT analysis is, setting SMART goals, developing your process, the importance of your content and analytics, some tactics of the same, developing timing, self and competitor analysis, how to write a competitive intelligence brief, and its practical application. If I'm talking too fast, please let me know in the comments so that I can switch up my continual process improvements for myself. I know that I have a problem with a little bit of a stutter and some ums. It's just something that I've had my entire life, and I apologize. So, moving on. Establishments. We are all marketers and salespeople. It's fundamental to human nature, rhetoric and selling and dispensing information. It's not in this particular slide's presentation, but there's only three reasons for communication of any kind. That's to persuade, inform, or entertain. So PIE, if you remember that, those are the three reasons for communication. And, that's what we're doing on a constant as marketers and salespeople. We're trying to communicate to others to be aware of the products that we're selling and pulling them down the funnel in order to get them to our clients, or if we are the end sales process, to actually sell to our prospective clients and keep them in our funnel and loop them back through good customer service and all that. SM personalities, bloggers, teachers, lawyers, business execs, plumbers, pizza guys, even people living on the streets, everyone is selling something. Again, that's just part of the human nature. The trick is finding and keeping qualified buyers. This is just a good quote that I like. Once you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, no matter how improbable, must be the truth. And that's from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle in Sherlock Holmes. Okay. What is competitive event? Competitive event is the action of defining, gathering, analyzing about products, customers, competitors, and any aspect of the environment needed to support your executives, managers, and strategic decision makers of your organization. CI means understanding and learning what is happening in the world outside the business to increase one's competitivity. That's a terrible word. Anyway, it means learning as much as possible, as soon as possible, about one's external environment, including one's industry in general and relevant competitors. This information is all available. This is strictly from Wikipedia. If you can check later, is kind of my point. So what is competitive intelligence? Key points. Competitive int is a legal business practice as opposed to industrial espionage. That's important. Industrial espionage is a no-go. The focus is on the external business environment. So business int is more of an internal subset of intelligence, because there's many intelligence gathering disciplines, where business int is your internal and measurements and stuff like that. Competitive int is almost exclusively external. And a lot of the uh, discipline is the same, and it's just a shift in what you're gathering and filtering. There is a process involved in gathering information, converting it into intelligence, and then using it in decision making. Some CI professionals erroneously emphasize that if intelligence gathered is not usable or actionable, it is not intelligence. That's important. Now, this is a simplified process. So before I go into the simplified process, I'm going to go back to the OODA loop itself. Make sure we can see this image. So there's 4 stages of the OODA loop, and it literally just stands for observe, orient, decide, act. And it goes in a loop. And you can see that. And this is a very, very basic view of it. So it's a standard process loop, and if you look at some other images, there's a lot of stuff going on outside or at the output, and some different things that you can apply to the process. But this is the basic form of the process, and this is really all that you need to understand to make use of the OODA loop. Everything else is, I don't want to say it's fluff because it's important depending upon application, but this is the bare bones basics of what you need to understand and what you can immediately use to produce actionable results through its application. So we'll go back to where we were. So this is a simplified process, and this is just kind of something that I came up with to make it a little easier to understand. So basically, your input is your observe phase, right? And that's, well, actually, it's not even your observe phase. Your input is any question that you're going to apply to the loop, okay? And the question becomes the most important thing for refinement as you do data gathering and stuff. The bigger your sample size with a targeted question, the more refined you can make your data at earlier stages of an operation, and therefore get cleaner data earlier. I hope I am explaining that correctly. But anyway, so you input your question, any question. You're going to set goals surrounding that question. By setting these goals, what we're going to develop is what's known as a KPI, a key performance indicator. And this is where that time measurement starts to come in. This will establish a go, no go of the process, and kind of decide if we need to kick it back to another point in the process for refinement and or expulsion. So in establishing benchmarks, measuring test is where you actually measure the KPI over its specified time. When you're actually measuring analytics, this is where it's either going to raise another question to throw back into your process, or best case scenario, and depending on what your process actually is, it's going to leave the process either as a finished product or go into a new process, a new loop for another purpose or question. Okay, moving on. So one of the first things that you learn, especially in competitive intelligence, is the SWOT analysis. SWOT, it's just a very simple, basic analytical tool that is nothing more than a list of, whatever the targets, either you or your target's strengths versus its weaknesses, opportunities versus its threats. And generally speaking, it's best to do this activity with your organization or a group in your organization or subsets, etc., depending on what you're trying to refine for your data. This is a really good tool for self analyzing so that you can shore up your weaknesses and identify threats to whatever you are trying to apply it to. SMART goals are nothing more than your standard goals, but it gives you a way to see if you've made a good goal. because a SMART goal is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time oriented. It goes back into that KPI thought process. This image here, because this is the way I learned it, this image, I just like the look of the image, and it's still completely accurate. There are some other acronyms for the SMART goal concept that could apply to your individual use case. So please take some time to maybe verify what I'm telling you, and see if there's something that will work for your individual use case a little better than this particular acronym. That's one thing about intelligence and being a professional in this arena, or attempting to, gather data for this purpose, etc., is you always maintain objectivity, and you want to make sure that your data is always good, as refined as possible, because the more that you refine your data in earlier stages, the more on point and decisive your final actions can be, or if not your final actions, when you brief your executives who are the decision makers of your process, they have awesome data to make those decisions, and granting you advantage over your competitor. Moving on. So see, mean, do is another acronym that's a little easier to remember for some than the OODA loop. In the following examples, I'll be incorporating these principles into the loop itself, because the only difference is the see, mean, do doesn't make a direct reference to time when something should be done, but it is implied, in my opinion. Use either tool, as both are just tools, not rules, to simplify your predictive analysis. And I'm really big on that. A tool, the whole purpose of a tool is just to make life easier. Your greatest weapon, your greatest tool is your brain. Period. End of story. Anything that we do, you can do manually. However, if you're going to scale something, for instance, that's when you want to apply automation or big data gathering principles, and AI learning and all that kind of stuff, and huge data sweeps. Everything can be done manually. It's just a question of scale. Because even the scaling and automations are just tools. Like, the old adage, I can drive a nail with a hammer or a rock, but which am I going to choose, right? But don't become so reliant on your tools that they become a crutch. It's kind of where I stand on it. Use the tools when it makes sense, when you understand the tool, but don't just go out and use the tool because everybody says you need it. Use the tool because it is actually effective and good for the job at hand. It's that whole lean kind of principle. Moving on. Observe. What do you see? Your environment, yourself. Observe only at this stage. You're not going to make any predictions. And here's some sample questions that you could use in your observing stage, because this is just where you're gathering the big form of data in front of you. On my web stuff, how am I doing? Is there anything trending I should be aware of? Has my competitor done anything new recently? These are things that you can either be looking at your website, or doing a Google search, or a Yahoo search, or whatever engine you want to use, etc., to gain your information, or to gather data. So orient. This is kind of the same thing, but it was applied. Let me make sure. Oh yeah, that's why I did that. So orient it. That's because this loop, there's a 3-step implied with a 2-step, but so orient is taking your observations from the previous step, developing questions to help you segment and filter your data further. Don't go too far down the rabbit hole. This is just where you prune the tree of possibilities. And overcomplicating does not mean more useful. Sample questions. How does my web stuff compare to competitors? If something is trending, am I in a position to exploit it? Has my competitor's new product become an opportunity or threat for me? Okay, moving on. Decide what can I do and when. So using gathered and filtered data, extrapolate possible courses of action, build these around your SMART goals, develop benchmarks of success and failure, key performance indicators, KPI. So those steps are what you're going to do to decide. So let's look at this as a sample goal. And I'm actually going to do a real, a live example so we can go through this a little better. But so you want to increase your web traffic by 20% by next quarter. That's that specific, timely, it is relevant, all that. So we have a good goal. So our key performance indicator is we have 100 visitors monthly as our current average. If we maintain that average, 300 visitors would be expected over the quarter, right? Because the quarter is 3 months. So to gain a 20% by next quarter, we need to get 360 total visitors. So we need 120 per month, or 30 per week, 5 per day. It's 4.2, but make it 5, right? Just there's some more math involved, but that's just the easiest way to do it. So next slide. So then we go into our test phase. Depending on your org, this is the stage where you test your predictions, insights over your designated range of time. Measure success and failure. Either break the loop or reinsert into observation phase for further refinement. So next quarter comes, we hit 400 visitors. That's 120% total increase. That math's wrong. But anyway, it'll be over your prediction. That's gonna bug me, but I know why it's like that, but it's one of those things personally irksome. But as you can see, you would identify your increase over the time frame, or if you didn't hit the goal and were below it, you would, actually that might be right. Anyway, you would refine and kick it back to the appropriate stage and retest as you needed. So here's where we create a CI briefing sheet. This document should be no more than a written page unless requirements state otherwise. You're the expert that's relied on predictions of the issue. The less you need in the brief, the faster decisions can be made, and an old saying is time is money, and that's huge in business. Time is money, money is time. They are interrelated and are equal. So all data in the brief is fact, or at least based on your predictions of fact, with no speculation at this stage. Although it's one page, develop or use existing storage systems for finding and research with detailed notes for the decision maker that they can access at need. So you're going to be forming, all your research is going to go into, an Excel sheet or a Google sheet or a database of some kind, just so that if the decision maker wants it, they can go look at it and verify your data. I will tell you honestly, 9 times out of 10, especially if you do your job right, the decision maker doesn't give a shit about that data. That's not part of their job. The whole purpose of the brief is to give them this. Here's the thing. Here's what I see. Here's what it means to you. This is what I think we should do. Yes or no. That's the whole point of the brief. If you've got that rapport, you've got that confidence from the decision maker, or you've shown just in the brief how knowledgeable your data is, and just the fact that they would have access to that data if they really wanted to refine it themselves or whatever, your prospective client, customer, 9 times out of 10, they'll just sign it off. provided your brief is good and accurate. So there's that. So creating the brief sheet elements. We have a classification, and these are, as you can read, classified only executive decision makers, confidential, highly sensitive, sensitive, internalized, general, not sensitive. Priority, I'd use 1, 2, 3. 3 being the lowest priority, and that's just an FYI. I will make these slides available. I'll discuss that here in a minute, but so we'll keep moving. So creating these are the elements that you should have. Summary or C section, compose a 1 to 2 paragraph summary of the information, and I actually will produce just a simple template to go along with this now that I think about it. Anyway, insights, compose a few sentences that give meaning to the information to put it into context, and your recommendations. Add your recommendation. What do you think the organization needs to do in response to the opportunity? And like this, summary, 1 to 2 paragraphs. You're not going to go in here and write a book trying to explain something to the executive. It's 1 to 2 paragraphs summary, and you could have a ton of data. So you need to get real good at writing quick, concise, factual stuff in 1 to 2 paragraphs. And then here you're only composing a couple sentences that give meaning to that information that you put above. And then, what should we do? And then you put that list of sources, and especially the way the net works now and all that stuff, instead of putting a list in my brief, I would have just a link. Even if you're printing out the brief, just put a printed link in there. Like, they know that if they go to that link, boom, they have access to your data. So you don't need to list everything out on your brief. The whole point of a brief is to be a single page, concise, and ready to rock and roll. Okay. 6 or 7 P's. This is just a, another acronym. So number 5 is actually highlighted because depending on your culture of your organization, some people might not like that word. So it's the same thing regardless. So proper planning prevents piss poor performance, and I think piss is a very good adjective to describe the possibility of failure if you don't do this. So, and then this is just a quote from Napoleon Bonaparte: "Take time to deliberate, but when time for action comes, stop thinking and go in." So that's kind of what your CI brief will do. Is that decision maker shouldn't, at that stage when you hand them the brief or email them the brief or whatever your delivery method is, they should just look at your brief, be able to even scan it, not even have to read your first section. Just go to your do section and go, hey, do this. That's how on point your stuff should be. And, I'm not saying your client shouldn't read through your stuff and that you don't need to provide data and all that kind of stuff. But what I'm saying is you should have your stuff set up so awesome, and your client or potential prospect should be able to see from just your professionalism of that brief how much went into it with the minimal amount of information so that they can make a quick decision. That boom, it's just easy to sign on the line or to take the action that you are recommending. Tips and tricks, just a couple, always validate your sources, always be objective in your research, rely on your data, but be ever ready for new input. Don't overthink. Keep it simple. Okay, that's the end of that presentation. All right, we made it. So let me just go back here, make sure it's the deck. So example uses. All right. So if you've watched any of my other videos, I like the plumbing niche. My grandfather, master plumber. And I will say that in every video. If you've got a problem with that, I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. My grandfather's a master plumber, and just out of respect and love for the man, I like to use plumbers for my examples. So, excuse me. What we're going to do is first I'm going to clear a couple of these tabs because that would drive me nuts. Get rid of you. Ooh. Quick thing. Good source of information for some of the CI stuff. No, I don't have a link or anything for you, but these dummies books are great sources of information. I really like them because they make a lot of concepts really easy to understand, and that's the way things should be. No matter how technical something is, it should be written on a level and understandable on the level for anybody that wants to pick it up and read it. That can read, I should say. But this is a good book on the subject of competitive intelligence. Check it out. You can probably find it in your library or buy it. I want to say it's like $10 these days, maybe less. Anyway, there's also kind of a cheat sheet that they have online. I actually put this in the description though, because some of this stuff is some pretty good info on some of those concepts. So clear that out now. Okay. So let's look at a website and maybe put some of this stuff into context. So let's say that I am a budding digital marketer, and I'm looking for plumbing clients. So I'm going to Google plumber San Diego. Now, I'm not going to go into any tool use here really. I use some tools and mostly plugins and yada yada, but we're just doing quick and dirty and what I'm looking for. Alright, you're going to go to page 2. I will tell you that. You're going to go to page 2, and the reason being, generally, especially if you're just starting out, you are not going to get anybody on page 1 to buy your services. Page 2 and beyond is much easier for you to relate with a client. You've got somewhere to move to, and there's just more opportunity for you to make an impact on their business. Is page 2 and beyond. So we're going to go there, and I'm actually going to use this one again. I know that this site actually has huge problems, and I am intending on contacting these guys. Maybe they'll see my vid, but and they'll contact me. But if you are viewing my video and I don't get to it over the next couple days, and you want to pitch these guys, I'm not going to be offended. In fact, just anyway. So this is a site that I would actually intend on, say, prospecting at this stage. And I know that there are some issues here, but I'll go into a couple of them so that we can see how we could write an effective CI brief, because a lot of marketers will do the video, something like I'm doing right now, and they'll make it 5-10 minutes long, and that works great too. The CI brief itself, if you do it right, it can be even faster than a video, contain all the relevant information, and you can have your suggestions in your brief, and they have the brief that actually adds value right now to them, so it makes kind of a decision, for just a talking point to work with you much easier, because you already provided that massive value up front. I'm not saying that you need to do 3 days worth of research, write somebody a CI brief, and just give it away. what I'm saying is that the CI brief structure can be used to give them an actionable, quick plan, like even if it's just one action to, accomplish tomorrow, let's say, that they could do themselves, um, but that you can actually reference some of the other stuff that you've seen, and that do section you would just reserve for the actionable thing that they can do tomorrow. Right? I'll demonstrate. So right now, first thing we look at, the site is not secure. They have a schedule appointment button here, but one of the things, especially with this one, they don't have a their capture form is all the way at the bottom. I'm not going to get into too much reasoning, but I'll go through some stuff on the data gathering portion and just how quick it can be. They are using WordPress. There's a couple ways I can find that out, but I'm going to go up to this plugin here because, like I say, WordPress is at a much degraded version right now, honestly. They have Google Analytics. They aren't running any Google ads. They are not retargeting with Facebook. Actually, I'll come back here. We'll start doing some typing. First, we'll do some racing. So let's just list out what we've seen so far. Unsecured. Move you over here. It's unsecured. Contact form below fold. No FB pixel. For remarketing purposes. Pixel. Enter. No ads. And this is just their home page. I mean, we can go through every single page if we really wanted to. I'll actually go to their contact page itself, though. Let's see what they got going on there. Pardon me. What? This is way too much information to be requesting on a contact form, especially if you're intending on an initial contact form. I mean, the whole point of a contact form is you basically want somebody's email. Your customer is not going to fill this out, so I would actually list that, contact form too long on page. And I would actually be, making a list of links and etc. and going through that as I'm doing this, just so that we're clear. This is quick and dirty. I'm just showing you what we can do with it. Because, I mean, even if somebody follows through and goes to their contact form, the first thing they're going to do, especially if, let's say, they have a busted pipe, I'm seriously not going to sit here and give you all my information like this. you know, if you want this information when somebody calls you, that's one thing, because some of this information, would be required, like the kitchen, what room's affected and that kind of thing, sure, but I'm not going to sit on a website and fill this form out. No way. So this contact form is useless. They do actually have, okay, they have their phone number listed twice with, their acronym, which is actually pretty cool. I'm not sure what this is supposed to be here. Oh, that might be their license number for the plumber itself. Apparently we can schedule an appointment. Let's take a look at that form. Yeah. Okay, so that schedule appointment takes me straight to this. And again, I'm not going to fill that out. A plumber should not be... If you're going to make contact with a plumber, you need a plumber now. Or, even if you're scheduling an appointment, you're not going to give this much information. So this button is same issue. Appointment button, link to that, so that's a problem because it's inherently with that. Okay, now these are just kind of the visual things. Go back to the home. They have a client login and a register. This is important because if you have a client login and you can register for the site and your site is not secure, that's a huge problem. This can be hacked easily. I'll just say that they're using outdated WordPress. They have this, and it's unsecured. I love WordPress, but you also have to maintain the updates. Otherwise, bad things can happen. Because, like any other CMS and almost every software platform in existence, the reliance on third-party applications means that you need to always maintain your libraries. Always, always, always. And you should have something in place in your organization or as an individual if you're using WordPress to always have an inspection period, if you will. Like once weekly, you're going in the back end of your site and just verifying that all your stuff is up to date. And especially with the bigger CMSs and that, it literally just tells you when you need to update or when one of your third parties has gone out of date. But the problem is most people don't just get into their back end. Or the people that are paid to get into their back end aren't getting back into their back end in the frequency that they need to. So there's 3 major problems right there. Just in the top there. We can say the heck with the form if we wanted to. I mean, that's kind of super low priority. And especially if I was prospecting this company, I wouldn't mention the form because that at this point is cosmetic, where the non-security, the fact that they have a place to register that takes email addresses and sensitive information. I'm gonna look at this. Yeah. They've got this. don't even know what this forum's supposed to be doing. Oh, apparently plumbers and everybody can. Yeah. So that's a register, and they have a client login. So yeah, they're dealing with sensitive information and all this kind of stuff. So you'd write your paragraph. In this case, it would be more of a citation because you're not just going to send somebody a template, especially if you're going to email them and you're prospecting, etc. So you would do the citation. Hi, I'm Lloyd. Uh, I was doing some client prospecting, uh, and I came across your site, and I wanted to make you aware of a couple of major issues that I discovered in my searches. And then literally you just list this out. So this is what I observed, you know. Uh, your site has no HTTPS certificate, which is now a Google ranking factor, and plus your site is not secured, which if you are using a login system, uh, opens up your customers to an attack by hackers. And by the way, your actual WordPress distribution is way out of date. You would clean it up and speak politically, correctly to these people, but you're going to inform them that they have these problems with their site. Uh, in the case of that, you're going to email them. Maybe you should, go in there with a little bit more kid gloves, especially in this situation, because these are major problems with this. It's really bad. Um, I mean, you could probably do a little bit more. You could see if the site was actually hacked, uh, and it's really bad. But this is, a security issue. And then I would, when I sent the thing, I would actually classify it like, hey, I consider this classified information for your eyes only, and it's, this is a priority one. This needs to be fixed like tomorrow. Recommendations: um, get a hold of your server company, get an HTTPS certificate. In their case, that client login, I hope it's not being used, but if it is being used, after getting the HTTPS certificate, or depending on what order you can get this done, update your WordPress to current. Um, and I would actually remove that client login or rebuild it. But yeah, the first step would be getting your HTTPS and updating your WordPress. Those are immediate. The client login, that could actually be a priority too. So you could actually give those two recommendations, like, hey, fix this tomorrow, and set this up as the next thing on your agenda with you and your marketing company, or whatever. Phrase it correctly, and then or as you're telling that, or if you need assistance, please feel free to contact me. I just wanted to make you aware of these issues and the importance of it. Thank you. Have a great day. Or contact me with any further questions. That kind of thing. It can start the conversation. And I mean, even if you typed all that out, it takes 5 minutes, and you've found a valuable um, thing to them that they can actionably do tomorrow. Which, when you're talking about speed, and especially in either development or marketing, that's an actionable improvement on this site that will start having results basically tomorrow for them. and the results being that their sites will be secure and their clients will be secure, which will in I don't even know what the time frame on that would be, being honest, because that's one of those KPIs that's really a go no go. So you probably have to wait maybe a month to really see its improvement, but they would get some improvement from it. So, and right now I'll tell you that this site isn't earning, uh, the site isn't generating any money. I've looked at its traffic and everything like that too. So, by making those two improvements, it should actually start at least gaining a little bit of traffic just from those two improvements. Not necessarily the WordPress update, but the security update for sure. The fact that the site is not secure and it doesn't seem to generate a lot of traffic anyway. Um, they should start to see at least a small increase on their traffic numbers. Um, in a month. I believe they get like 90 visitors a month as visitors. The traffic was low enough that it doesn't even calculate bounce rate automatically. And again, they have Google Analytics hooked up, for instance, but I don't know what they're using it for. It looks like somebody told them, yes, you have to have Google Analytics hooked up and Site Console, and they didn't know what to do with it. So that could be something that you could also mention to them. Whatever you feel is the best mention, the most politically uh, savvy. I am not a political creature. That's never been a strength of mine. It's something that I work on constantly. But where I lack in the political arena, um, this the things that I'm saying right now are totally legit. Um, that's a major hazard for this site, is the fact that it's not secure and they are, taking customer data. And that's something that can be quickly remedied, definitely saving them money and time. So, that's giving them value right up front. Um, but like I said, there's a lot that you could mention just in that little brief. You don't have to give the cow away in that brief. It's, show the client that you have a lot of skill. Here's an actionable thing that they can do. And if they, want any more help, because you're going to put like 2 or 3 recommendations in the mean section, right? Your do only needs to be like the first actionable thing that they can do immediately. So if they read through and they go, oh, they said that, this, and this is, messed up, but then they recommended this had to be the top priority kind of thing. And, oh, well, yeah, man, Lloyd hooked me up. I should probably call him and see what else we should address, because, he didn't reference this and this in the do section. But, or you can list those things out again in the do section with those priorities, like I was talking about. It's all kind of feel at that point. So that was kind of my example on using, competitive intelligence gathering principles, using the OODA loop to develop your cycles, and my practical example here in how you would develop a brief for a potential client. Like I say, be a bit more political in your approach. That's something that I still strive to work on. That's never been my strong suit. It's something I am getting better at, but you need to be able to deliver concise, strictly data uh, reports quickly and efficiently to help yourself, your business, or your clients, in which you're helping yourself and your business. So quickness and all that kind of stuff. Okay. I hope you've enjoyed the content, and I will make. Actually, I'll tell you what. If you'd like access to that deck that I demonstrated, or I'll actually put together just a simple document template for a CI brief. I'll put that together. If you'd like that, like and comment in the video, and give me a way to contact you, and I'll gladly send you the link. So hey, there's my offer to you. If you'd like the deck or the simple template, like the video, and just comment that you want it. You don't have to put any other comment down there or even subscribe or anything like that. Just, hey, like it. I want the. Just put I want the stuff. I know what you mean. So, and I'll put that little offer in the description, like, hey, if you want this, do this below. So, anywho, thank you very much for your time. Again, I'm Lloyd from McVey Marketing Solutions, and I hope it's been educational and fun. As fun as I can make it. Have a great day.